The blades of the mower hummed in the morning heat, pushing through thick grass like time through silence. His boots were old military, perhaps, but worn thin. Every pass across the lawn was practiced, precise, almost reverent. No one noticed him. Not really, until that morning. A black car pulled up. Doors slammed. A high-ranking officer stepped out, silver eagle gleaming on his chest. He watched the man mow the same patch of grass again, slower this time as if lost. Then the colonel asked, voice steady but low, "Why didn't you tell them who you were?" His name was George Avery. The young soldiers called him Old Mo, a nickname passed between smirks and half-hearted waves. They assumed he was just a civilian doing yard work for a few extra bucks. No one questioned why he never talked much, why he never went inside the gates, why he worked through heat waves, holidays, and even rain. But George had once stood where they stood 30 years ago. He wore the same uniform, only tighter, cleaner. Back then, he was Major George Avery, decorated for valor in a desert where few remember, carrying men out of fire when he himself was burning. But wars don't end when medals are pinned. The ones in the headlines fade. The ones inside you stay. After his discharge, George disappeared into simplicity. He left the titles behind, gave away the medals, and never corrected anyone who called him just the lawn guy. He didn't need them to know. He didn't want to be saluted. He just wanted peace. But peace, as it turns out, is not the absence of noise. It's the absence of recognition. Every week, the same young cadets walked past him. Some tossed trash onto the lawn he'd just cut. Others laughed, calling him slow, and he never flinched. He only adjusted his cap lower, shoulders heavier. One day, a younger soldier named Petty tossed a half-empty soda can into the grass. George bent down, picked it up, and smiled. Petty scoffed. "You get paid to clean up my mess, old man." Another soldier, Jackson, chuckled but looked away uncomfortable. "Come on, man. That's enough," he muttered, but George just nodded and returned to the mower. It wasn't disrespect that hurt him. It was how normal it felt. The world had forgotten, and he had let it. Then came that morning, a black sedan, a colonel, and a question. The colonel had been passing by. He hadn't expected to recognize a man behind a lawnmower. But those eyes steady, piercing, he remembered them from a battlefield in 1991. He crossed the lawn slowly, uncertain. "Major Avery." George looked up, startled. "It's Colonel Dempsey. You saved my life in Kuwait." A beat of silence. Then the colonel whispered, almost in disbelief, "Why didn't you tell them?" George straightened, dusted off his hands. "They didn't need to know. It's not about me anymore." But Dempsey wasn't having it. He turned, eyes narrowing at the group of cadets watching from across the yard. They do. Within the hour, formation was called. Cadets lined up, confused, murmuring. Then Colonel Dempsey stood before them, not in a briefing room, but out in the sun, next to the man they thought was invisible. "This man," he said, pointing to George, "carried me through enemy fire when both our radios were dead. He refused med-evac until every one of his men was pulled out. He was offered the Silver Star. He declined." Cadets were frozen, silent. Some shifted, ashamed. Then Jackson stepped forward, quietly. "Sir, we didn't know." George smiled. "I know, son. That's all right." That week, the base changed. They no longer called him Old Mo. They called him Major Avery. Every time he pushed that mower, cadets rose and saluted. Not out of obligation, but out of respect, not just for what he had done, but for how quietly he had carried it, for choosing humility when he had every right to be a hero. But the truest strength, as they now saw, is not in the medals won. It's in the grace of being forgotten and not needing to be remembered. There are people around us, quiet, ordinary, overlooked, who carry stories heavier than we'll ever know. Sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones who never speak of their wars, who mow the lawns we walk past, and never ask for applause. If this story stirred something inside you, don't scroll past. Share it. Let someone else remember what the world too often forgets. Subscribe if you believe silence can still hold greatness, and be the reason someone still believes in kindness. Start today.